And Assalamualaikum to Madam and all my classmates. Today I'm SYAIRAH from class KAM 102C. We present the theme of this short story. This short story is titled Movie Mania, created by the King of the Sea. This short story has been translated by Dina Zaman. The theme of the short story is about a young man who have complete teaching training in the field of language education, who wants to return to his father's house or his hometown to continue his service as a teacher in his own village. He wants to live, teach and die his own village. He never really took to the big city like Johor, Bandar Melaka and Kuala Lumpur. It was enough what his village offered: a school, the sea, his friend and his family. This story tells the life of the language teacher known as Rosli. He chose to teach the language to continue the legacy of his father, who is someone that wants to strengthen the language. He also has an ability that is rarely possessed by others, that he can imagine a situation in front of him and he has to act in one story that he likes. By having a deep imagination in the representation of feeling character, he has become obsessed with the storyline so much, so that is misunderstood by other residents because of its strange translation of the actual storyline.
Right now, I will continue to the character and characteristic in Movie Mania. Firstly, Rosli, a young man who become a Malay language teacher and loves to be highly imaginative. Secondly, Rosli's late father, a person who maintains the customs of Malay language in life. Thirdly, Ma, a woman who deeply misses the figure of her dead husband. Fourthly, villagers, a group of people rejoiced when it was announced that on every fourth Friday there will be a film screening. Fifth, village students, a group of students who strive to understand something. Lastly, Bomo, a figure stating that Rosli had been interrupted by demons. Today I would like to explain about the setting of place and time in Movie Mania. Firstly, Kampung Tok Kumangkuk, where Rosli will bring us to teach the student. Second is home, where Rosli loved to lie on his mattress and looking out to the jungle. Thirdly, badminton court, where the villagers watching a film on every fourth Friday. For the setting of time, firstly at the morning when Rosli got scolded by his late father. Secondly, on every fourth Friday, where the villagers will assemble at the badminton court to watch a film. Thirdly, at night, where Rosli woke up and felt his heart being knocked at by jealousy and envy. Lastly, Friday night, where Rosli suddenly became extremely aggressive and disappeared into the blackness.
So the next one is plot. The rising action begins when a young man who has ended teaching training in the field of languages education, who wants to return his hometown to continue his service as a teacher in his own hometown instead of continuing his service in the big cities like Johor, Bandar Melaka or Kuala Lumpur. It was enough what his village offered: a school, the sea, his friends and his family. He is falling in love with his village because there was entertainment in form of mayung, silat, gamelan and now the cinema. The second one is the climax. The climax of this story begins to be at the peak of the story when the school taught by Rosli begin to present movies at the school for the villagers consisting of the old people and small children. After the movies were shown, the villagers could not understand Chinese because the movies were in the Chinese version. This created conflicts and problems for the villagers where they need help from someone who understands the language. Rosli volunteered himself to be the translator for the audiences, but in fact that he not even knows about the Chinese language. Because of he has a good imagination, all the translation that he gave were not from the film. He too obsessed with the character in that film until he created his own story during his translation. And the last one, of course, falling action. Falling action began when he did turn back to look at his former life. He saw a torn screen with puzzled and frightened villagers looking for him. Through the tear behind the screen, everywhere around the court and screamed. He laughed and turned away and disappeared into the blackness.
We can see the conflict of the story whenever Rosalie back to his village, he always remember his late father. As example, every time in the woods, he will remember his late father who sent him to school every day on a bicycle. Second, his ambition as an English teacher was not achieved because he needed to be a teacher who taught Malay because his father last mentions not to forget the language fostered a long time ago. Third, he felt very grateful to be placed in his old school because in the city, he was a shy teacher and had no talent in singing because he had a talent in art and language. Next, residents in the village only found out about the film title when they visit a relative in the city and his friend on social media. Next, once the movie is installed, all students do not understand what it is because the movie is installed in English. Next, head teachers were agitated because the program didn't go as planned because many people did their things like some were dancing and most of them spoke because they didn't get away with it. Then the principal asked for help from Rosalie to translate the movie into all. Then he felt the main character of the movie entering his body and soul, and Rosalie began to deepen the character to everyone. Next conflict, he awoke one night with a feeling of jealousy and envy. Knowing in his heart, he despised Humphrey Bogart and Frank Sinatra. He desired their looks, movement, and swagger. He grabbed a movie magazine and read all the celebrity gossip, despising them for their flawless life. He started to dislike his neighbors as well. The women were dark and attractive, not as attractive or thin as the Chinese actress on screen. The male were sloppy with their experience if only they were a cravat. Worse, he had started to despise his life, his work, everything was dreary, monotonous, and uninteresting. He aspired to be in the movie. He aspires to be one of them. In spite of that, the locals became concerned and exterminated Guru Besar, who is dragged down the way in his sarong, accompanied by his son. They apprehended Rosalie and returned him to his home. Rosalie was advised to sleep for a week and enlist the help of Obama. Some of the film characters had possessed him, and they wanted to return to the screen but could since they were locked in his body. Lastly, Rosalie was aware of everything. Villagers with basis mind, lembu bodoh, he had no spirit in him, only envy and loathing for the life he was living. What is going to be his life? Teaching and translating every Friday night film. He yelled softly, "Bobby." He stayed at home for the next week. Dozing, he didn't take a bath because he didn't feel the necessity. While he wanted to wait until the Friday night to interrupt once more. He may have invited their life, but could deny the pleasure and satisfaction he felt when his simple mind was applauded. The end of the movie.
Lesson that we got from this movie Mania story is, the first one is, we must love our national language. For example, Rosalie wanted to be a teacher who teach in English, but he chose to teach Malay after being persuaded by his father when his father said, kita tak boleh lupakan bahasa kita. Kalau kita lupa, siapakah kita? The second one is, we have to plan our daily activities. For example, Rosalie loves to plan what he needs to do in the next day so that he will never waste the time. The third one, we should dare to do something and learn new things. Rosalie dared to come forward and tell everyone that he could be a Chinese translator, even though it was the first time for him to be a language translator. And the last one is, we must be a people that devoted to the home place. For example, Rosalie wants to work in his birthplace and serve there and even wants to die there.